Hello and welcome to week 7 of PUBH 610. Today we will discuss continuous quality improvement. The learning objectives for this week are to define CQI, to describe how continuous quality improvement can be used to improve public health programs, to be able to use CQI methods such as process mapping, Six Sigma, and Plan, Do, Check, Act, and to discuss an example of CQI which is being used in global health today. So how do we improve the quality of our programs or services? There are two approaches, the bad apples approach and CQI. The difference in approach is that one focuses on individual caregivers and the other focuses on broader health systems. CQI is what we will discuss today, and it requires the things that you see listed here. It requires formal standards of care, benchmarks for measuring quality, systematic data collection, and performance measurement and management. Public health departments have increased expectations to perform better and to improve health outcomes with reduced levels of funding. Many industries use CQI as a way to improve their service delivery and efficiency of their processes. And in the past 20 years, the healthcare delivery system in the U.S. has adopted CQI principles and practices. And in the last 5 years, public health agencies have begun to use CQI concepts. Programs such as the National Public Health Performance Standards Program from the CDC and the Multi-State Learning Collaborative have provided leadership for the CQI movement. In public health, CQI is defined as using deliberate improvement techniques, focusing on activities that improve population health, not individual health, making a continuous effort, and achieving measurable improvement in a process. And the four components to this are using deliberative improvement techniques, so those that refer to specific methods such as Six Sigma, Lean, or the Model for Improvement. Six Sigma is an approach designed to reduce the incidence or number of defects or errors within a process. Lean is a method intended to improve the flow or methods related to a process. And the Model for Improvement begins by making small changes and then rapidly expands the scope of those changes. All of these methods will lead to broader improvements. Activities that improve population health. Here, the primary purpose of CQI is understanding the preferences of customers and then producing services that customers want from an agency. In public health, we typically serve two types of consumers: people seeking services, and the second are people in a community that are at risk but are often unaware of their risk. As I mentioned, CQI is a continuous effort. As the name implies, it is not a one-time operation. CQI is intended to improve processes, and these processes should become a part of the fabric of an organization. And we should be achieving measurable improvement in a process. And this means that in CQI, it's very data-driven, and managerial decisions should be based on data. In 2008, the Department of Health and Human Services defined quality of public health, and it set these 9 goals for improving public health. Quality programs and services in public health should include all of these dimensions. They should protect and promote the health of the entire population, be for all people in a population, so they're equitable, They should be grounded in prevention and adaptable to new situations and disease threats, so they should be proactive. And they should also ensure that new policies and strategies can be developed to advance existing programs and practices which work and increase the chance of people adopting healthy behaviors. They should reduce adverse environmental and social risks and be vigilant in supporting new policies and practices which enhance things like surveillance activities such as technology and modeling. They should also be transparent and improve open access to valid, reliable, and timely data. And they should justify investments by using evidence, science, and best practices. And lastly, they should be efficient and translate the costs and benefits into a language that's easier for consumers and members of the public to understand. The three goals of CQI are to provide feedback about performance and quality improvement, to increase accountability and credibility, and to improve staff morale and visibility. As I mentioned earlier, CQI addresses quality from a systems perspective, and this ensures that the process itself is sound, rather than relying on individuals to achieve quality with processes that aren't designed to support it. Public health professionals tend to be hardworking, but public health has quality problems because it relies on old processes to perform its work. And in order to achieve higher levels of quality in services and programs, existing public health processes must be redesigned or new ones developed. And CQI maintains that only 15% of problems can be attributed to people, and the rest, so 85%, are due to flawed processes. The most basic method used to analyze a process is called a process map. And 4 symbols, which are described here, are used in process maps. Ovals indicate beginning and an end of a process. A diamond is used when a decision must be made. A rectangle is used to indicate an activity, and an arrow indicates a process flow. Here is a simple process map from a 2016 article in Pediatrics in Review on quality improvement and patient safety. And the diagram is for a patient with septic shock. And each person with any involvement in the process should participate in mapping his or her part of the process to reveal the complexity and allow identification for ways in which you could simplify the process and or build in reliability to critical steps. And as you can see, the process map identifies the major action steps and decisions in the process of a patient who comes in with septic shock in this example. It also orients applicants to application and the assessment process, and it develops and maintains strategic and relevant partnerships. Here are some common problems which can be discovered using process maps. Disconnect occurs when transfers from one group to another group are poorly managed. So for example, someone at reception may schedule you to see a doctor on a day that the doctor's not even in the office. That would be a disconnect. Bottlenecks tend to occur when the volume of services demanded overwhelms the system or program providing them. For example, 2 people who are scheduled to see a doctor at the same time. Redundancy occurs when the activity is repeated at 2 or more points in a process, and rework is when work must be repeated fixed, or corrected. For example, if insurance information is entered incorrectly, it will require additional effort to retrieve and enter the correct information at a later time. Six Sigma is a process improvement technique which was developed in manufacturing environments. And the three key tenets are listed here. First, the program is designed to monitor work outputs. It's intended to be applied throughout all departments in an organization. And the goal of Six Sigma is to have a maximum of 3.4 errors per 1 million operations. Six Sigma considers an organization to be an interconnected system of processes and customers, and it attempts to counteract the silo mentality. And it includes these 5 steps of defining a problem, measuring the problem, analyzing the steps in the process and data about the problem, improving, so implementing a process solution that eliminates the root cause of the problem, and control, or develop and apply ongoing monitoring. Lastly, we have the Plan, Do, Check, Act process, which is also known as Plan, Do, See, Act, or you might see it as PDSA cycles. This is a very common quality improvement method because it's simple and it's a very powerful technique. Plan means that you address the issue by gathering and analyzing data and observations. Do means you test the most appropriate or likely solution to succeed on a small scale and then observe the effect of the intervention. Check means you compare the results of small-scale tests through measurements and analysis and then decide if the test case provided the desired change. And then you can act and make the changes permanent as appropriate. And if the change didn't yield the desired results, then you'll go through the entire PDSA or PDCA cycle again. So HealthQual International is a company that I worked for, which is an example of an organization that uses CQI in global health context. And you can see their current activities are in several countries across the globe. And here you can see how quality improvement implementation has changed over the years. So in 2005, HealthQual International was just getting started, and there was very limited QI knowledge and implementation, especially in the context of PEPFAR programming, so global HIV programming. But by 2017, quality improvement had become much more a routine part of PEPFAR programs. And in the future, we're working to build more sustainable quality improvement systems and structures, but this will require national level resources and ongoing adaptation at country level. So here in this diagram, you can see that this is something called a quality improvement collaborative, which HealthQual does. And what they do is they initially garner people for a design meeting. And during this design meeting, they lay the groundwork. So they talk about who we should engage, what sites we should work on, improving quality, and identify some targets that they would like to meet. So you see this is the first step on the top left. And then in step 2, they develop a assessment tool and they finalize a data collection strategy. So they're thinking about collecting baseline performance data from each facility, and they'll work collaboratively to decide which metrics they're going to be gathering and at what facilities. And then in step 3, they'll have a learning session where they discuss the measurement strategy and make sure that everyone knows how to use the data collection tools and develop action plans to be carried out during the first action period. And then step 4 is to do a Plan, Do, Study, Act, or PDCA process, where the facilities will test and document the changes. And the health qual staff and Ministry of Health staff will visit sites, and they'll conduct coaching to make sure that these steps are being repeated and data are being checked and monitored and performance is being measured. And then you'll keep working with these clinics over time in order to tailor their approach until you get a better quality of care for patients living with HIV. And here are some HQI progress reports from clinics in Zimbabwe. And it's just to show you an example of how they could look at what's going on in the different clinics and see if patients are getting closer to getting 100% of all patients on ART, retaining them in care, and reducing their viral load. So you can see that at different points they've implemented different interventions, such as calling pre-ART clients, doing an integration of ART services, or having patient navigators who will help retain people in care. But at each of these points, you could see if there was an impact, and that's the idea, that you can implement something and immediately measure and see if it's working, and if not, you can change your course. In summary, quality improvement is an important concept that is entering and becoming more and more popular in public health. And some of the popular CQI techniques, which we discussed today, include process mapping, Six Sigma, and Plan, Do, Check, Act, or Plan, Do, Study, Act. So I hope this helps you to feel more familiar with these terms and methods as you move forward and become public health leaders and managers. That's it for this week. Please be sure to check Blackboard for additional materials.